4 Steps to Secure Your Seed Phrase. John Hoddle. November 7, 2022. How to secure your seed phrase. If you have been into Bitcoin for even a short amount of time, you've probably heard how important it is to secure your seed phrase. Unfortunately, there isn't enough conversation about how to actually do that. While some may think that it's as simple as just writing down 12 to 24 words, there's actually a lot of trust involved with the most common methods. Since your seed phrase is probably the single most important piece of information in regard to your own Bitcoin, how you secure your seed phrase is one of the most important decisions that you will make to protect your Bitcoin. There are 4 key steps that I have identified to secure your seed phrase as much as it possibly can be. Rather than writing all of this in a single post, I've decided to break it up into 4 different articles, each with its own focus, so I can go into the necessary detail on each step. Part 1. Generate your seed phrase, randomness plus verification. Part 2. Write your seed phrase, medium. Part 3. Store your seed phrase, location. Part 4. Recover your Bitcoin wallet, privacy, security, wallet settings. Note, this is for a standard single signature seed phrase. In the future, I will add some additional details for multi-sig seed phrase setups. Generating your seed phrase. Knowing how to securely generate your seed phrase is where your security needs to begin. Unfortunately, too many people just trust the Bitcoin wallet that they downloaded from the internet or bought from some company run by people whom they have never met. While a hardware wallet device is probably safer than a wallet that connects directly to the internet itself, the real issue is that too many people blindly trust the seed phrases generated by wallets. They trust that the company isn't giving them a predetermined seed phrase. At the very minimum, users need to be able to add some of their own entropy with coin flips, dice rolls, playing cards, or by randomly selecting each word out of a hat with a physical random tool like SeedSticks or a DIY equivalent. What's even more important is the need to do all of this on an air-gapped computer that is incapable of connecting to the internet all by itself, or maybe at all. If you completely eliminate the need to trust anyone else with generating your seed phrases, then your seed phrase is more secure. The first step to securing your seed phrase is not relying on anyone else to generate it for you. You need to generate it yourself or at least use an impartial source of entropy like a coin, dice, deck of cards, lottery, etc. Writing down your seed phrase. Writing down your seed phrase seems simple enough, but there's more to it than you might think. You can't be too careful with this step because it's all too easy to just write these down without thinking about how many video cameras and audio recording devices there might be in the room with you right now. As I am typing these words right now, I am literally looking at the built-in camera that I have covered on my laptop computer. There are also 2 to 3 cameras on my smartphone, 1 on my desktop, 2 on my GoPro, and probably some others that I am not even thinking about. Not only do those devices have high-resolution cameras on them, they also have precise audio recording microphones, GPS capabilities, and Wi-Fi connectivity. If any of those cameras see my seed words as I am writing them down or audio recording devices hear me say them aloud, those words are compromised and need to start over with a brand new seed phrase. Not only do you need to a safe location without any audio-video recording devices when you are writing your seed words down, you also need to be sure that you're writing them down on something that will last a long time without any degradation. Is it capable of withstanding a house fire or flood? What about impacts or electrical shock? What if aliens invade and shoot acid everywhere? Is your seed phrase safe and secure? After you've generated your seed phrase with your own source of entropy, the second step to secure your seed phrase is to write it down in an environment without any audio-video recording devices and on something that is capable of withstanding all sorts of physical damage and data degradation. Storing your seed phrase. The third step to secure your seed phrase is to store it at a secure location that is safe from the various threats and risks that fit your personal life circumstances. But what does that mean exactly? Is a safe okay? What about a safe deposit box at the bank? Can you ask a trusted friend or family member to keep it for you? What about your family lawyer? Can you bury it in the ground? These are all excellent questions that need to be addressed before you decide on the physical location where you will secure your seed phrase. Depending on your own circumstances, you will need to decide what is the most reasonable level of risk for you and your stack. There is no single correct location to store your seed phrase. If you live in a floodplain or right on the beach, perhaps storing a copy in more than one location might be a good idea. If you need to worry about your kids accidentally finding your seed phrase, maybe you need to consider alternative locations. Recovering your wallet with your seed phrase. The fourth and final step to secure your seed phrase is when you are using it to recover your Bitcoin wallet. While you might think recovering your Bitcoin wallet is just as simple as entering your seed phrase into your computer or hardware wallet, there are some steps that need to be taken to ensure that you don't compromise your wallet in the process. One of the greatest paradoxes of using seed phrases is that we are told not to ever enter them into a computer, but almost all desktop wallets and mobile wallets prompt us to type them in as soon as we write the words down. While this might seem legit at the time, it goes completely against the entire idea of safely using your seed phrase. With as advanced as malware and keyloggers have become, it is incredibly important not even to read your seed words out loud because there are almost certainly audio recording devices all around you on a daily basis. From the several microphones in your smartphone to headphones all the way to your smart TV remote. Even thermostats and kitchen appliances these days have microphones in them. Don't get me started on Google Home and Amazon Alexa. When the time comes for you to recover your seed phrase, it's best practice to enter them into a hardware wallet device that is completely offline and doesn't have the ability to connect to the internet all by itself. How secure is your seed phrase? When you first began reading this article, you probably thought that your seed phrase was pretty safe. Hopefully these 4 steps have motivated you to think about some of these steps in more detail and to really think about how secure your seed phrase actually is. Did you generate your seed phrase in a secure offline environment with at least some of your own entropy? Did you write it down in a secure location without any audio-video recording devices around? Did you write it down on paper, or is your seed phrase safe from fire, water, physical impact, and even acid? Is the physical location where you are storing your seed phrase safe from prying eyes, theft, and natural disasters? If, when the time comes that you will need to use your seed phrase to recover your Bitcoin wallet, are you prepared with the necessary physical hardware and software to recover it in a secure offline environment that is safe from malware, keyloggers, and other potential attack vectors? If you're unsure about any of these questions, it might be a good time to reevaluate how secure your seed phrase is and what steps you may need to further protect your sats. How to securely generate your seed phrase. Protecting your seed phrase is probably the most important thing you can do to protect your Bitcoin. While you might think that your seed phrase is as secure as it possibly can be, there are actually several key steps to secure your seed phrase. Generating your seed phrase in a secure offline environment is one of 4 key steps to secure your seed phrase. Part 1. Generate your seed phrase, randomness plus verification. Experimenting with Bitcoin seed phrase generators. It doesn't matter if you're new to Bitcoin or a hardened veteran hodler who's held through 80% plus dips, it's never a bad time to experiment with all of the various seed phrase generation methods to better understand how seed phrases and entropy work. I'll begin by experimenting with generating entropy, randomness, with the various methods that seem to be the most common to generate seed phrases. Next, I'll convert that randomness into an actual seed phrase with the various hardware devices and online tools. Note, everybody is different and there is no single correct way to generate your seed phrase, but for the sake of this article, I will be going over the 4 main methods that I consistently come across whenever I generate a seed phrase. How are seed phrases generated? To generate your seed phrase, there are a few methods that you can experiment with. The most common methods that I have come across are word by word, random word lottery, dice rolls, 1 to 6, coin flips, binary, deck of cards, A10JQK, and your wallet's random number generator, Trust. Experimenting with all of the various Bitcoin seed phrase generator methods across multiple tools and devices will help you to better understand how seed phrases are generated and how random your seed phrase actually is. Are you trusting your Bitcoin wallet to generate your seed phrase for you? Are you adding any of your own entropy with dice rolls or coin flips? Are you generating your own seed phrase by selecting each word using physical randomness? Are you verifying the authenticity of your seed phrase across multiple devices and tools? Do you understand how much security you have with a 12-word seed phrase versus a 24-word seed phrase? Experimenting with generating your seed phrase can help you to better answer all of these questions and why they are important. Before you send any Bitcoin to your wallet, it's a good idea to understand what a seed phrase is and how they work. The best way to learn is by experimenting, but we don't want to make any mistakes with any actual Bitcoin, so a good place to learn is with multiple services and wallets just to get a feel for how they all work. I have personally used all of the following methods to create entropy to generate dozens of seed phrases and verify them across multiple devices and tools. Every time I used one form of entropy to generate a seed phrase, I got the exact same 24 seed words across the other devices and tools. Unfortunately, not all of these devices and tools have all of the same features, so I wasn't able to test every single method against every other device or tool, but I got so many of the same results that I trust all of these products to generate authentic seed phrases. Once you have generated your seed phrase with any of these methods, it's a good idea to verify them across multiple hardware devices or online tools to make sure that you get the exact same result on all of them. This decentralizes your need to trust any one of them. Generating a seed phrase word by word. You can physically generate entropy by randomly selecting each of your seed words out of a hat. There are 2 basic methods to do this. One way is to do it yourself and print out each of the 2048 words on paper and randomly select each word to generate your seed phrase. The other way is to buy a product with each of the 2048 seed words already printed on them and then randomly select each word. In my opinion, this process is the best way because it relies the most on pure physical randomness to select your seed words. For 12-word seed phrases, there are 2048 to the power of 11 possible combinations. For 24-word seed phrases, there are 2048 to the power of 23 possible combinations. The final word is always calculated as a checksum. To calculate my final checksum word for these experiments, I used my seed signer, the Bitcoiner Goody seed tool, and seed picker. Paper printout, DIY. You can physically generate your own seed phrase entropy using nothing but paper and a pencil. All you have to do is print, or write, all 2048 of the BIP39 words on paper, cut out each word, randomly select 11 to 23 words, and then calculate the final checksum word. This is the only method that I didn't personally try because I don't have a printer and it seems a little too time/resource intensive to get a printer just to be able to print all of the words, cut each one out, and then randomly select each word. My time is worth a lot to me, so I just bought some seed sticks. Seed sticks. Seed sticks is an offline seed phrase generation tool that relies on true physical randomness to generate entropy. The math for calculating seed phrases is the same with seed sticks as the DIY paper method, but seed sticks are much less fragile than paper. I would rather just pay a Bitcoiner for a quality product that I can use over the years to generate hundreds of physically random seed phrases for friends, family, experiments, giveaways, and myself. Calculating the final checksum word. Once I've randomly selected 23 words, I input them into my seed signer to calculate the 24th word as a checksum. Since this is purely for experimentation and learning, I also input the same 23 words into SeedPicker and the Bitcoiner Guide seed tool, and all of them calculated the same final checksum word. The Bitcoiner Guide required me to select 0 for all of the final 3 bits of entropy in order to match my seed signer and SeedPicker. Warning, this is just for testing and experimenting. SeedPicker and Bitcoiner Guide are online tools. Do not enter your actual seed words into these services unless you know how to download them and run them in a secure offline environment. If I ever get a different checksum word, then I've either entered something incorrectly or there's a potential that I am using corrupted or dishonest software. If the checksum is the same across all devices/tools, I can be certain that my checksum word is authentic or that they are all dishonest and colluding. Since I generated 23/24 of the seed phrase using physical entropy and all of these tools are open source, my seed signer is completely air-gapped, my risk is decentralized, and I can have a high level of certainty that my seed phrase is authentic. Generating a seed phrase with dice rolls. Another way you generate your seed phrase is by rolling your own entropy with dice rolls. Instead of selecting 11 to 23 words out of a hat, you can roll a single die 99 times, or 5 dice just 20 times, record all of them on paper, and then enter them into a hardware device or online tool that calculates seed phrases from dice rolls. In my experience, dice rolls seem to be one of the most common methods for Bitcoiners to generate seed phrase randomness. It might be because dice are cheap, readily available all around the world, buying/possessing them doesn't raise any red flags anywhere in the world, and a cold card can generate a seed phrase with dice rolls. SeedSigner recently posted that the TSA was very interested in his SeedPills entropy tool. Generating your seed phrase with dice rolls is easy to do, but can be rather time-consuming to roll dice till you have 99 rolls. Enter all 99 of your dice rolls into a hardware wallet device that generates your 24 seed words, then you have to write down the seed words. For generating your actual seed phrase, this security is well worth it, but experimenting with this method will help you to truly appreciate how much effort this actually takes. Converting 99 dice rolls into a seed phrase. Once you have your 99 dice rolls, you can enter the into a cold card, SeedSigner, or the Bitcoiner Guide seed tool, and it will generate a seed phrase. If you use a cold card to enter the dice rolls and you enter one of the numbers incorrectly, you cannot delete it. You will have to either enter the same incorrect number on both your SeedSigner and Bitcoiner Guide or restart your cold card and start the process all over again. Warning, again, this is just for testing and experimenting. Both SeedSigner and cold card can be used completely offline and air-gapped. Only use the Bitcoiner Guide seed tool to generate your seed phrase from dice rolls if you know how to run it in a secure offline environment. Generating a seed phrase with playing cards. Generating a seed phrase with playing cards is another way to create entropy to generate a seed phrase. Just like with dice, playing cards are cheap and easily available all around the world. If you have an internet connection, you can use Jimbo's Seed Picker Solitaire to generate 23 seed words and then calculate the final checksum word. There are probably a number of different ways that you can use a deck of playing cards to generate randomness, but Jimbo has a couple of different methods outlined in his instructions. In my experiment, I used the second one. For each word, I shuffle a deck of cards and then draw 2 cards. I got a 7 of clubs, 7C, and a jack of diamonds, JD. I then reference that against his sheet, and all the way on the left side of the page, I find 7 of clubs and the jack of diamonds. I reference the JD in the 7C row from my previous card, and I can see that it corresponds to the word tilt. I now have one of 23 seed words. I repeat this process for all 23 words. Converting playing cards entropy into a seed phrase. Once I generated my 23 seed words, I used my SeedSigner, SeedPicker, and the Bitcoiner Guide seed tool to calculate the final checksum word. Once again, I got the exact same result on all of them. Generating a seed phrase with coin flips. Something as simple as a single coin can be used as a Bitcoin seed phrase generator. All you have to do is flip it 256 times and write down the result of each flip. Each one of these flips is a binary piece of data. As part of my experiment, I flipped a coin 256 times and wrote down the result of each coin flip. This was obviously incredibly time-consuming, but well worth the experience to learn how to generate seed phrase entropy with nothing but a coin. Converting coin flip entropy into a seed phrase. Once I had all 256 coin flips written down on paper, I entered all of them into the Bitcoiner Guide seed tool and it generated a seed phrase. Generating a seed phrase with your wallet's random number generator. Finally, you can trust your Bitcoin wallet to generate a seed phrase for you. This is the least secure method for 2 reasons. You are trusting your wallet's random number generator, RNG, to be random enough and that it will generate a truly random seed phrase. There have been reports of RNGs being compromised or weak, which resulted in a successful cyber attack being launched against the service that relied on that randomness. You are also trusting that your wallet is honest and not giving you a seed phrase that is predetermined by whoever developed your wallet. When you trust someone else to generate your seed phrase, there's a greater than 0% chance that it can somehow be compromised. When you generate your own seed phrase, you don't need to trust anyone but pure mathematics and the randomness of the physical universe. It's a beautiful thing. Securely generating your seed phrase. Now that you have an idea of how seed phrase generation works, you can use any of the following methods to securely generate your seed phrase in a secure offline manner with fully air-gapped tools like SeedSigner and Coldcard. You can use pure physical randomness with something like SeedSticks or use a DIY method to print out each of the BIP39 words and randomly select each word. You can roll dice until you have 99 rolls, then enter each one of them into an air-gapped seed signer or a cold card. You can use playing cards and Jimbo's solitaire seed picking reference sheet to generate words offline and then use a seed signer to calculate the final checksum word. Unfortunately, I am not sure how to generate your seed phrase by flipping a coin in a secure offline environment. The tools that are able to generate a seed phrase with this method are all online, but I will continue to look for resources to generate a seed phrase with coin flips. Finally, you can trust a Bitcoin wallet to generate your seed phrase, but you run the risk of having your Bitcoin compromised if their RNG isn't as random as it should be. Even worse, you could receive a predetermined seed phrase altogether. Unless you are personally able to audit the code of the device that you are using, you are trusting that the device is giving you an honest and secure seed phrase. In order to ensure that your seed phrase is completely authentic, you either need to generate your own seed phrase using 100% of your own entropy, or you need to be able to add your own entropy during the seed generation phase and verify it on at least one other device. Verifying your seed phrase on multiple devices. One of the reasons I have gone into such detail in this article about checking the outcomes across more than one device/tool is so that need to rely less on any single point of failure. Don't trust. Verify. You need to ensure that your seed phrase is not relying on trust. It needs to rely on math. Furthermore, when you use a completely air-gapped device to verify your seed phrase, you have an even more trust-minimized method to verify that your seed phrase is secure. Any device that generates your seed phrase is ultimately a trusted third party, unless you are verifying your entropy against at least one other device or service. Even with dice rolls, you are trusting a third party to a certain extent unless you are using another tool or wallet to generate the same seed phrase. If you get the same result, you can be sure that your seed phrase is authentic. Verifying my seed phrase. When I was checking to ensure that all of these tools produced the same seed, I entered 99 dice rolls into my cold card, seed signer, and Bitcoiner guide. All three of them generated the exact same 24 words, so I can be sure that either all three of them are authentic and have not been compromised, or that they are all compromised and are working together to steal my Bitcoin by giving me a pre-generated seed phrase. Since the code for all of these projects can be audited, I can be relatively certain that they are all acting honestly. If you roll dice 99 times and enter all of those dice rolls into a cold card, a seed signer, and the Bitcoiner guide seed tool, you should get the exact same seed words on all of them. If you don't get the exact same result, double and triple check that you entered all 99 dice rolls exactly the same on every device and software. Entering even a single number incorrectly will result in a completely different seed phrase. Final thoughts. Generating your seed phrase is an incredibly important and often overlooked because we tend to just trust our Bitcoin wallets to be acting honestly. Since all of the wallets and tools that I refer people to here on whatisbitcoin.com are all open source, we can at least audit the code to verify that they are honest. For those of you who are unable to audit the code of all of these different software wallets and hardware wallets, using other devices helps us to verify that we are generating authentic seed phrases. Furthermore, we can use completely air-gapped tools to calculate, generate, and verify our results across multiple devices to ensure that the Bitcoin seed phrase generator that we used is honest and producing authentic seed phrases. How to securely write your seed phrase. After you have securely generated your seed phrase, the next step is to write your seed phrase on something that will last a lifetime. Whether you decide to use a DIY method or buy a specialized product, taking the time to write your seed phrase in a secure offline environment is one of the most important steps to secure your Bitcoin. Each one of these 4 steps to secure your seed phrase is as important as the other, so be sure to read up on the other steps for maximum security. Part 1. Generate your seed phrase, randomness plus verification. Part 2. Write your seed phrase, paper and metal. Part Different ways to write your seed phrase. After you have securely generated your seed phrase, the second step is to write your seed phrase on something that is capable of withstanding damage from the elements, data degradation, and will last a lifetime. There are a multitude of options available, so I will touch on as many as I possibly can to help you make the best decision about how to securely write your seed phrase. They range from writing your words into standard paper all the way to stamping your words into titanium. For smaller amounts of Bitcoin, writing your seed phrase on standard paper is just fine, but as soon as you have accumulated a larger amount of Bitcoin, it starts to make more sense to protect it by writing it down on something stronger. You can use something as simple as standard paper or a dedicated seed phrase notebook if you have multiple seed phrases. For maximum security, you can use a metal seed phrase backup tool and stamp your seed phrase into stainless steel or titanium. Here are all of the different methods and tools to securely write your seed phrase. Writing your seed phrase on paper. If you're new to Bitcoin and learning about seed phrases and how they work, writing your seed phrase on paper is a good place to start. You don't need to start off by stamping your seed phrase into metal until you're ready to commit to holding a larger amount of Bitcoin in that wallet and you have a secure location to store it. There are a couple of common practices to write a seed phrase on paper, standard paper or a seed phrase notebook. Standard paper. The easiest and most common way to write your seed phrase down is with a pen on a standard piece of paper. There's nothing special or cypherpunk about this method. You're just writing down 12 words or 24 words on a piece of paper and putting it someplace safe. While the primary weakness of standard paper is that it is easily damaged or destroyed, it's also one of its features. If you're ever worried about a seed phrase falling into the wrong hands and you need to destroy it, standard paper is easy to shred, burn, soak, divide, or even swallow. In fact, using a burner wallet can be a good way to use Bitcoin privately because you can destroy the seed phrase after you've used the funds. Seed phrases that are written on metal are incredibly difficult to destroy. More on that below. For small amounts of Bitcoin, a seed phrase written on standard paper is probably just fine until you're ready to upgrade to something stronger. Seed phrase notebook. If you want a slightly more robust medium to write your seed phrase on, using a dedicated seed phrase notebook is a great next step. I personally use the Shield Folio Stonebook Affiliate because it was made specifically for writing seed phrases as well as a bunch of other relevant info like wallet names, passwords, passphrase, private keys, 2FA codes, notes, and more. All of the pages are water and tear resistant, so you have a little more security than standard paper. The book also looks and feels special, so there is a smaller risk of it being accidentally thrown away or shredded. Shield Folio also has a specialized pen they call the Ghost Pen, which writes with invisible ink that you use a black light to read. While I think this is mostly novel rather than practical, it could be a good way to write a down seed phrase if you absolutely needed to write one down in public and you didn't want any prying eyes or cameras peeking over your shoulder to copy your words. If you want to buy water-resistant paper but would like something more private/discreet, Amazon sells water-resistant notepads that can be used as a seed phrase notebook. These sorts of water-resistant notepads are often available for purchase over the counter at army surplus stores and hunting goods stores. Writing your seed phrase on metal. As soon as you've stacked enough sats that you don't feel comfortable keeping your holdings on a piece of paper, the next logical step is to upgrade from paper to a metal seed phrase backup such as stainless steel or titanium. There are multiple methods and they each have their own pros and cons. As is true with seed phrase security, complexity is the enemy of security. For the most comprehensive stress tests of all of the different metal seed phrase backup devices, be sure to check out Jameson Lopp's seed phrase storage stress tests. He puts all of the most common seed phrase storage devices under the stress of extreme heat, pressure, and even acid. Some are clearly more robust than others and you will need to figure out what works best for your own budget, security needs, threat model, and ease of use. DIY metal seed phrase backup. In the true nature of open source, collaboration, and building our own tools, Bitcoiners have developed a number of different DIY metal seed phrase backup tools. Not only do these DIY methods preserve your privacy, they also tend to be cheaper than purchasing one of the products mentioned below. Stainless steel washers. Stainless steel washers have become one of the most popular methods DIY metal seed phrase backup methods. You can purchase all of the tools and the washers themselves from your local hardware store for about $50 to $100. It takes about an hour to stamp them all of your seed words into the washers. Small 3D printed jigs are available to help with the letter/number spacing and alignment. You can also purchase a stamping block or even a small anvil to ensure that you really stamp each letter into each washer. Electrical box plate cover. If you're more interested in preserving your privacy and saving money, you can use an industrial electrical box cover that only costs about $2 at your local hardware store and then use either a letter/number stamp set or a Dremel to engrave each seed word into the steel. This method is not only incredibly cost-effective but also preserves your privacy. These can also be used to hide your seed phrase in plain sight if you use them as actual electrical box covers. Metal plate punch grid. You can make your own seed plate punch grid, but this requires a bit more expertise and knowledge of the dangers of losing your seed phrase. Instead of the grid being part of the plate itself, the grid is printed off on a piece of paper or clear plastic and you punch your seed words into the steel through the print off. When you remove the paper, you are left with a blank piece of steel with approximately 50 to 100 punch marks on it. In order to recover the seed phrase, you need to print off a new sheet of paper and match up the grid to the metal plate and then write down the letters on another piece of paper. Note, complexity is the enemy of security, so this method is not recommended for new users. It requires at least an intermediate understanding of the risks of losing your seed words. Buying a metal seed phrase backup. Since not everyone is interested in making their own metal seed phrase backup, there are a number of different companies who offer a variety of products for writing your seed phrase for long-term storage. 1 word per piece of metal. If you don't want to keep all of your seed words on the same piece of metal, you can stamp a single word on a single piece of metal and then attach them all with a bolt or keyring. This can have some benefits to it, like adding some extra work to decipher in the event that your seed phrase is ever discovered by someone. These companies all produce different products for writing your seed phrase. Some of these may require you to have your own tools to stamp letters/numbers. CryptoKeys 25 USD, USA, Cedar 70 Euro, Germany, HODL 140 Euro, Switzerland. Metal plate word list. The most robust method of storing your seed words all in one place is on a single piece of high-gauge stainless steel or titanium. This can be done with products from multiple companies. With this method, all of your seed words are stamped/etched into a single piece of metal using either a letter/number stamping kit or a rotary tool such as a Dremel. This single plate design has consistently proven to be the most resilient method for writing your seed phrase into metal because of the simplicity of it. One single piece of metal with 12 to 24 words stamped/etched into it. This method consistently demonstrates resilience against stress tests of all kinds. Here are some of the leading companies that make seed phrase metal plates. Some of these may require to have your own tools to inscribe numbers/letters. Hodlinox, Germany, Black Seed Inc., Canada. Steel plate seed phrase punch grid. Steel plate punch grids are another popular option amongst Bitcoiners. Not only are they a single solid piece of steel, but they also require the least amount of tools and time to punch. You simply punch a letter/number grid that corresponds to the first 4 letters of each of your seed words. The downside to these plates is that they are single-use, so if you mess up a single word, you may need to buy an entirely new plate, and they tend to range from $30 to $70 for a single plate. Some of the most popular tools for the steel plate seed phrase punch grid. You may need to have your own tools to punch grid squares and stamp letters/numbers. Punch plate, USA, block plate, USA, bit plates, UK. Metal plate QR code. If you use a seed signer to fully air gap your private keys, then you will probably get tired of manually entering your seed phrase every time you power up the device to sign a transaction. To ease the seed recovery and signing process, a QR code system has been added to the device interface to make it easy to write your seed phrase in QR format. You can print off your own QR code template and then manually, and patiently, color in each grid square. Once complete, you can then make sure that the device doesn't have any issues recovering your seed by scanning it. After you've verified that it's correct, the next step is to transfer the same grid to a metal plate QR code layout that has been designed specifically for seed signer seed recovery QR codes. One downside to this method is that if you punch even a single grid square incorrectly, it could potentially inhibit the ability of your seed signer to be able to read the QR code. That could be considered to be a catastrophic loss, and you would need to purchase an entirely new backup plate. Inversely, if you ever need to destroy your seed, the grid punch layout means that if you need to render the plate useless, you can simply punch every square in the grid so that a QR code reader can't read it. There is currently only one reputable manufacturer of metal plate QR code plates. You may need to have your own tools to punch grid squares and stamp letters/numbers. Vulcan 21, Germany. Letter plus rail devices. Standalone letter plus rail devices are one of the first designs for a seed phrase storage system. They come with a small steel housing that has rails or slots for small metal tiles. Each tile is inscribed with a letter of the alphabet. To write your seed phrase, you manually insert the first 4 letters of each of your seed words into the housing along the rail to spell out the first 4 letters of each of your seed words. These are all standalone devices, so you don't need any specialized power tools, number/letter punch sets, or hammers. All you need is the device itself, and you slide the pre-made letter tiles into where they are supposed to go and then store it in a secure location. Some of these devices use slots that tiles slide into, while others have a central rod and the first 4 letters of each of your seed words are stacked on top of each other. While these devices offer the convenience of being able to be erased and reused with another seed phrase, they tend to be the most susceptible to loss from catastrophic damage such as a house fire and pressure/impact, because the letters tend to fall out of if the metal warps under extreme heat or pressure. Here are some of the most well-known letter plus rail seed phrase storage devices. Cryptosteel cassette and capsule, UK. Final thoughts. Securing your seed phrase is a learning experience, and deciding what medium you're going to write your seed phrase on is part of that experience. If you're just starting out, writing your seed phrase on paper or in a seed phrase notebook is just fine, but as soon as you feel that your Bitcoin stack is worth protecting with more security, the obvious next step is to use a metal seed phrase backup tool to protect it from physical damage, data loss, and last a lifetime. How to safely store your seed phrase. After you have generated your seed phrase using your own entropy and you've written it down on something that will last a lifetime, the next step is to store your seed phrase in a location that's safe from being lost, stolen, destroyed, or seized. Safely storing your seed phrase is step 3 of 4 steps to secure your seed phrase. Part 1. Generate your seed phrase, randomness plus verification. Part 2. Write your seed phrase, paper and metal. Part 3. Store your seed phrase, location. Part 4. Protecting your seed phrase. There is no single correct place to store your seed phrase. Everyone has different threat models and access to different levels of security. In order to best protect your seed phrase, you'll need to decide where you think is the most secure location based on your own particular risks and circumstances. Adding too much complexity can be a bigger risk than keeping things simple, because there are countless ways to lock yourself out of your wallet, but there is only one way to unlock it. Every layer of complexity that you add increases the odds that you will be unable to access it in the future and your Bitcoin will be gone forever. You don't want that to happen. Store your seed phrase somewhere simple enough that you can easily access it in an emergency, but just complex enough that it would stop a bad actor from accessing your Bitcoin. For most Bitcoin holders, stamping your seed phrase into metal and hiding it in your own house is fine. For larger amounts of Bitcoin, you might need to invest more time to find a good stash spot. Protecting your seed phrase from yourself. Statistically, the biggest threat to your own seed phrase is actually you. There are countless stories of people accidentally throwing their seed phrases away, corrupted hard drives, destroyed by the elements, or compromised by storing it on the cloud. As I have said before, when it comes to protecting your seed phrase, complexity is the enemy of security. To keep your seed phrase as safe and secure as it can be, the best way is usually to stamp, punch, or etch it into metal and store it in a location that is safe from catastrophic level natural disasters. This might be as simple as keeping it locally at your house in a location that nobody would look and that won't accidentally be thrown away. When you punch your seed phrase into steel, you are much less likely to accidentally dispose of it because it looks and feels too important to just throw away. Additionally, if you use a paper shredder to dispose of paper documents, having your seed phrase stamped into metal would prevent it from being accidentally or intentionally destroyed by a shredder. If I was rich, I would probably keep a copy of my seed phrase stamped into titanium stored in a safe in my house in my gated citadel community in a jurisdiction with good stand your ground laws and private property rights. If I was homeless, I would probably run a Bitcoin wallet from a USB thumb drive and keep my 24 seed words encrypted on a metal plate and keep the decryption key online somewhere easily accessible from anywhere in the world. Chances are that you are somewhere between rich and homeless, so you will have to decide what works best for you and your own threat model. Protecting your seed phrase from friends and family. Another part of safely storing your seed phrase is to protect it from others who might accidentally destroy, damage, or access your seed phrase. This can be difficult to balance because you will want your loved ones to be able to access your Bitcoin in the unfortunate event that you are somehow unable to access your Bitcoin. This could be unforeseen imprisonment, injury, or even death. One possible way to store your seed phrase where your loved ones have access but are unable to empty your wallet is to use time locks and passphrase. Passphrase could be given to each of your loved ones who can independently access their own wallet under the same seed phrase. Time locks could be used to limit when funds could be released as a sort of Bitcoin annuity payment to each of your loved ones on a predetermined schedule. Using both of these methods together could prove to be a powerful way to store your seed phrase at a location that is easily accessible by your loved ones while also limiting who has access to your Bitcoin and when they can access it. Protecting your seed phrase from bad actors. Probably the more obvious threat to your seed phrase is someone who simply wants to steal your Bitcoin. There's an endless supply of scammers and hackers online who want to get your seed phrase so they can steal every Satoshi that you have. The first and best way to protect yourself from these sorts of attacks is to not talk about your Bitcoin. This can be difficult for some since you might love to talk about Bitcoin, but it's important to avoid talking about your Bitcoin. There's a meme based on the movie Fight Club. The first rule of Bitcoin Club, you always talk about Bitcoin. The second rule of Bitcoin Club, you never talk about your Bitcoin. When choosing a location to store your seed phrase, it's obviously important that it isn't accessible by your enemies. This can be a burglar or it can be the banks that want to stop a global Bitcoin standard. Protecting your seed phrase from search and seizure. One of Bitcoin's most important value propositions of Bitcoin is that it is unconfiscatable. While it's true that a private key or Bitcoin wallet can be unconfiscatable, it definitely requires some planning. If you take proper care, you can render your Bitcoin unconfiscatable by storing it somewhere that it can't be taken by force. If you are preparing for any sort of a 6102 level event in your country and your government outlaws possession of Bitcoin where you live, it would probably be best to not store your seed phrase at the same address that any of your KYC Bitcoin are associated with. If you do, it might be best to use a multi-sig wallet setup to prevent your Bitcoin from directly being seized by an authoritarian regime. If all of your Bitcoin is KYC and you need a clear and auditable paper trail, like in a Bitcoin IRA, then it might make sense to use a service like Unchained Capital to decentralize your risk by protecting your Bitcoin with multi-sig and never storing all of your private keys in the same physical location. Protecting your seed phrase from natural disasters. Storing your seed phrase somewhere safe from natural and unnatural disasters is yet another important part of protecting your Bitcoin. When we are making our mental threat models, we probably don't take into account that there could be a catastrophic disaster that could completely relocate or bury an entire house. What good is stashing your seed phrase in an underground bunker if the entire bunker is completely relocated in a landslide or earthquake? Here are just some of the catastrophic level events that could potentially compromise the entire location where your seed phrase is located. Floods, landslides, earthquakes, sinkholes, explosions, tidal waves and tsunamis, forest fires, tornadoes, volcano eruptions, and anything else that could potentially destroy or relocate your entire house. While all of these disasters don't necessarily have the ability to move an entire house, they may render it impossible for you to access your seed phrase. Something smaller like a routine forest fire or flood might not completely destroy or relocate your house, but it might make it impossible for you to access your seed phrase location. This could be as simple as a bridge burning down or a road washing away. If you live in a part of the world where you have to worry about tornadoes but not floods, then storing your seed phrase underground might be a safe place to store your seed phrase. If you live on the beach and there's even a small chance that your house could get swept out to sea or destroyed by a tidal wave, it's probably not a good idea to store your seed phrase there. Don't be the guy who stores his seed phrase in this house. Safe places to store your seed phrase. As mentioned earlier, there is no correct place to store your seed phrase, but there are certain characteristics that make a good hiding place. The more characteristics your hiding place has, the safer your seed phrase is. Depending on how much Bitcoin you have and how privately you were able to get it, there are ways to store your seed phrase anonymously for decades and beyond. I will go into some detail on each one and you can decide where to safely store your seed phrase based on your own particular circumstances and what physical space you have access to. Not a KYC address. If you've been fortunate enough to get any non-KYC Bitcoin, you probably don't want to store them anywhere near the physical address you used to purchase any KYC Bitcoin that you may have. While it's probably fine to keep your KYC Bitcoin at your physical KYC address, keep your non-KYC Bitcoin somewhere that is completely disconnected from your physical address and identity. If you're able to live a Bitcoin double life, keep your non-KYC Bitcoin unassociated with your physical address. Store it all by itself. While it might be tempting to store your seed phrase along with your other valuables such as cash, jewelry, or gold bars, it's best to keep your Bitcoin separate from all of your other valuables. In the unfortunate event that you are ever robbed, you don't want your Bitcoin to be stolen along with all of your fiat paper money and shiny pet rocks. It's best to keep your Bitcoin in a location all by itself. Easily memorable. You want to make sure that where you store your seed phrase is unique and memorable. If you can't remember where you put your seed phrase, then your Bitcoin is lost and gone forever. If you have decided to use passphrase and/or time locks, be sure that everyone in your family is able to easily memorize the location and how to get there. For easy access to your seed phrase after your memory begins to fade, store it somewhere memorable. Permanent. If your house can easily be washed away or your stash spot will be eroded by a flood, then it's not the best spot to store your seed phrase for years or even decades. Make sure that wherever you store your seed phrase is still going to be there after you wake up from a coma or get out of jail. Easily accessible. What good is having any Bitcoin if you can't physically access it? When you are planning on recovering your wallet, make sure that you have physical access to your stash spot. If you buried it in the middle of the woods, make sure that you can easily access those woods and that they aren't in any sort of a floodplain, sinkhole, or other natural disaster. If you store your seed phrase somewhere that has a balance of as many of these characteristics as you possibly can, your seed phrase should be as safe as it can be for your particular threat model. Unsafe places to store your seed phrase. While there is no single correct place to safely store your seed phrase, there are absolutely a number of unsafe places and methods. The simplest plan is usually the best plan. Don't over-engineer your storage method to the point where you lock yourself out of your own Bitcoin wallet forever. Unfortunately, there is a lot of bad advice out there that leads many new Bitcoin users toward poor security practices and even straight-up scams targeted at unsuspecting nocoiners. To prevent any catastrophic loss, please avoid these unsafe seed phrase storage methods. Avoid internet-connected computer storage. Keeping your seed phrase on any sort of internet-connected device is one of the least secure ways to store your seed. Your computer is vulnerable to loss, theft, fire, water, hacks, viruses, malware, hard drive failures, and more. Desktop wallets are great for keeping small to moderate amounts of Bitcoin on to do things like online spending and CoinJoin, but it's best to avoid keeping too much Bitcoin on any sort of internet-connected device. Until you have an in-depth understanding of how to store files on your computer in a secure manner, it's best practice to avoid storing your seed phrase on a computer. Avoid cloud storage. What most people don't know about the cloud is that it's simply someone else's computer. When you upload data to the cloud, you are just transmitting that data to someone else's computer. If you decide to store your seed phrase on the cloud, you risk having your seed compromised by whoever runs that cloud server. If you don't know a lot about encryption and how the cloud works, don't store your seed phrase on a device that is connected to the internet. Avoid screenshots. Since your computer and smartphone are able to connect to the internet wirelessly, it's a security risk to store your seed phrase on these kinds of devices. Since many apps and cloud services have access to the photos stored on your phone and computer, it is possible that your photos may be transmitted to third-party servers, such as Google, Apple, Facebook, and dozens of other apps that have access to your photos, without your knowledge or consent. To keep your Bitcoin as safe as possible, never capture screenshots or images of your seed phrase. Avoid excessive passphrase and encryption. Using too many passphrase and encryption is yet another layer of complexity that stands between you and your Bitcoin. If you choose to encrypt your wallet.dat file or use a passphrase for your wallet, be sure you have plenty of backups and know how to use them. Unfortunately, there are way too many stories of people who have locked themselves out of their own wallets because they lost or forgot their decryption keys or passphrase. Until you have an in-depth understanding of how passphrase and encryption work, it's best practice to avoid using them. Avoid just memorizing it. While it may be tempting to try to memorize your seed phrase, it's not a safe long-term solution since over time your memory fades. In the event that you would like to pass Bitcoin along to others as an inheritance, you don't want to forget or not have a hard record that can be passed on to someone else. Avoid splitting up your seed words. Splitting up your seed words poses a risk of loss for a couple of reasons. In the event that part of your seed phrase is found by someone else, there is a risk that they may be able to guess the missing words using a brute force attack. Furthermore, if you do not have 100% of your own seed words, then you are unable to recover your wallet unless you are able to guess your own missing words using the same sort of brute force attack. A multi-sig seed phrase configuration is the best option if you want to decentralize the risk of having your seed phrase compromised. Avoid adding decoy words and changing word order. By using decoy words or rearranging the words in your seed phrase, you run the risk of permanently locking yourself out of your wallet and losing all of your Bitcoin. Swapping and using decoy words may work well for short-term storage, but as your memory fades, you run the risk of forgetting which words are real and which ones aren't. In the event that you forget which words are decoys, you will be locked out of your wallet and your Bitcoin will be lost. When it comes to seed phrase storage, it's best practice not to rely on your memory. Avoid making too many copies. While the purpose of a seed phrase is to preserve at least one copy in a secure location, storing a second copy may help decentralize your risk. Just make sure you don't generate so many copies that it becomes impossible to keep track of them all. The more copies you make, the higher the likelihood that one of them may be compromised. Avoid safe deposit boxes. Storing anything in a safe deposit box has proven to be vulnerable to being seized by both the owner of the deposit box as well as any number of government agencies. To eliminate the risk of having the contents of your box seized by anyone, it's important to always have control of your own seed phrase. If you are using a multi-sig wallet, storing one of your seed phrases in a safe deposit box might be a reasonable amount of risk since your Bitcoin won't be compromised in the event that you are unable to access the contents of your deposit box. Avoid anywhere visible to cameras. Not only should you store your seed phrase somewhere safe from physical damage, but you should also keep it away from prying eyes like cameras of any type. This includes the cameras on your smartphone, tablet, desktop, laptop, smart home gadgets, GoPros, and even the security cameras at your neighborhood coffee shop. If there is a camera nearby when your seed phrase is visible, it is possible that your seed has been compromised. Final thoughts. The important thing to remember when storing your seed phrase is that there is no single right way to do it. Everyone is different and has different threat models and risk tolerances. You need to protect it from yourself, your loved ones, bad actors, unreasonable search and seizure, and any catastrophic disasters that could potentially prohibit your ability to access it. Avoid all of the unsafe places and don't overthink it until you have enough Bitcoin that you need to dedicate the time and resources to secure your seed phrase. When you do, it's best practice to keep it simple. For most people, the best way to store your seed phrase long into the future is stamped into steel or titanium and put somewhere permanent that you're not going to overlook or forget. The more complexity you add to your seed phrase, the more likely you are to accidentally lock yourself out of your Bitcoin wallet forever. Find a balance between security and simplicity that fits you and your life circumstances. Finally, the most important part of safely storing your seed phrase is that you can access it for the rest of your life and beyond. How to recover your Bitcoin wallet. If your Bitcoin wallet is ever lost, stolen, damaged, or compromised, you'll need to use your seed phrase to recover your Bitcoin wallet. Luckily, that's the whole point of a seed phrase. In order to best protect your Bitcoin, it helps to know the best practices as well as any potential risks during the recovery process. Recovering your Bitcoin wallet is the final step of 4 steps to secure your seed phrase. Part 1. Generate your seed phrase, randomness plus verification. Part 2. Write your seed phrase, paper and metal. Part 3. Store your seed phrase, location. Part 4. Recover your Bitcoin wallet, privacy plus security. Import your Bitcoin wallet with your seed phrase. After you have securely generated your seed phrase, written it down on paper or the strongest metal that you have access to, and stored it in the most secure location that you know of, the final step in this series is to recover your Bitcoin wallet without compromising any of the security in the previous steps. One of the paradoxes of seed phrases is that we've all been told that we should never share your seed phrase with anyone or type it into a computer that's connected to the internet, yet when the time comes for you to actually use your seed phrase to actually recover your Bitcoin wallet, you will need to enter it into a computer or a hardware wallet. Here are all of the best practices to ensure that you keep your seed phrase secure when you recover your Bitcoin wallet. Secure plus private location. Just like when you generated and wrote your seed phrase down, you need to be 100% sure that you are in a private location safe from prying eyes or ears. Not only does that mean that you don't want anyone looking over your shoulder when you recover your wallet, but you also want to make sure that there are no recording devices anywhere near you when you recover your Bitcoin wallet. This includes both video cameras and audio recording devices. Entering your seed words. Entering your seed words in a secure environment is potentially the most important step. You want to be sure that you don't accidentally reveal your seed words to an attacker by entering them into a device that has potentially been compromised with a keylogger or some other malware that is able to see your seed words as you enter them. To best protect your Bitcoin during the recovery process, it's best to use a Bitcoin hardware wallet device that is completely air-gapped or at least enables you to enter your seed words into the device itself rather than type them on a computer keyboard. Recovering your Bitcoin wallet in this manner reduces the risk that your Bitcoin wallet will be compromised by malware during the recovery process. Passphrase. In the event that you used a passphrase to generate more than one wallet with your seed phrase, you will need to enter your passphrase into the wallet for it to locate/display your addresses and balances. Passphrase can be a little difficult to understand, so you may need to do some research to fully understand how to recover your Bitcoin wallet that has been passphrase protected. Derivation path. Most, if not all, of the most popular Bitcoin wallets utilize a privacy-enhancing feature called hierarchical determinism, or HD for short. HD wallets are a type of Bitcoin wallet that generate multiple addresses from a single seed. HD wallets also use deriving paths, which are strings of text that act as instructions for how to generate the different address types associated with the seed. Derivation paths begin with a M followed by various numbers and slash symbols that indicate which branch of the tree structure contains the specific key or address being generated. Knowing these derivation paths ensures that funds are not lost in complex wallets with multiple accounts, branches, or sub-accounts. To recover your Bitcoin wallet, you will need to use the same derivation path as the wallet that you used to generate your Bitcoin wallet. Recovering across different wallets. Although there have been substantial advances in interoperability and recoverability across different Bitcoin wallets using BIP39, not all wallets have adopted the exact same standards for wallet recovery. As a result, not every wallet can be recovered on every other Bitcoin wallet. In order to recover your Bitcoin wallet with a seed phrase that was generated by another Bitcoin wallet, you may need to download and use a different wallet that supports passphrase, the address script type, as well as the key derivation paths of the wallet that was used to generate your seed phrase. If you are unsure what settings your original wallet used, you can use this wallet recovery guide to see the default settings for some of the most popular Bitcoin wallets. Hot or cold wallet recovery? Not all seed phrase recovery needs are the same. There are multiple ways that you can recover your Bitcoin wallet with your seed phrase. Depending on the amount of Bitcoin in the wallet you are trying to recover, you will need to decide which method provides you with the appropriate level of security. If you are trying to recover a Bitcoin wallet with only a small amount of Bitcoin in it, then you may not need to worry as much about the level of security and privacy compared to a wallet with a larger amount of Bitcoin. Small amounts of Bitcoin can typically be recovered using a hot wallet such as a mobile wallet or desktop wallet, while larger amounts should only be recovered using a dedicated Bitcoin hardware wallet. For added security, you can use a completely air-gapped hardware wallet to avoid the risks of your wallet being compromised during the recovery process. Recover using a hot wallet. If you only have a small amount of Bitcoin in the wallet that you are recovering, you may decide that you don't need a high level of security to recover the wallet. If that is the case, then it should be just fine for you to recover your Bitcoin wallet with a mobile wallet or desktop wallet. Since both of these types of wallets run on devices that connect directly to the internet, they provide less security than using a cold wallet. For the highest level of functionality, Sparrow Wallet is the best desktop wallet that I have come across. Sparrow can recover seed phrases with 12 to 24 words, multiple script types, derivation paths, passphrase, multi-sig wallet setups, and connect your own node. Sparrow Wallet also supports a wide array of hardware wallet devices in the event that you want to use a cold storage device to recover your Bitcoin wallet in a secure offline environment. Recover using a cold wallet. If you feel that the amount of Bitcoin that you are recovering is worth enough that you would like to take extra steps to protect it from being compromised by any of the risks associated with hot wallets, the best practice is to use a wallet that is unable to connect to the internet by itself. For the highest level of security, it's best to use a wallet that is completely air-gapped. If you decide to enter your seed phrase into a hardware device, you can add a layer of security by plugging it into a battery power supply instead of directly into a computer and then entering the seed phrase in a more air-gapped environment. Hardware wallet. Using a hardware wallet is the best practice for hodling your Bitcoin while also being able to create and send new transactions with relative ease. While your Bitcoin private keys are on a hardware device that can easily connect to a computer and send a transaction. If you are able to enter your seed phrase directly into your hardware wallet device to recover your Bitcoin wallet, such as a cold card, seed signer, or other hardware wallet devices, your hardware wallet should automatically restore the wallet with the default wallet settings. Again, for the highest level of functionality, using Sparrow Wallet is the best desktop wallet software to use with a hardware wallet because once you plug in your hardware wallet, you can manually select the address script type, the key derivation path, passphrase, and even connect to your own node for optimal privacy. Air-gapped computer/device. For larger amounts of Bitcoin, using a fully air-gapped computer or hardware wallet device provides the highest level of security. This method requires that you connect your Bitcoin wallet to an independent power supply instead of to an internet-connected computer. Once the air-gapped wallet has been powered on, you can enter the seed phrase into the hardware wallet and use it to sign transactions. For example, you could connect a cold card or seed signer to a battery to power the device and recover your Bitcoin wallet without the need for an internet-connected device. Once you recover your wallet with this method, you can export the XPub key to a desktop computer to create and send transactions. Key takeaways. Safely recovering your Bitcoin wallet is the final step of 4 steps to secure your seed phrase. Just like when you generate your seed phrase and write down your seed phrase, you need to be sure that you are in a secure and private location without any video cameras or audio recording devices. To find all of your wallet addresses, you may need to do some research to see what derivation path your wallet used when you generated it and if you used a passphrase. Depending on how much Bitcoin is in the wallet that you are recovering, you might decide that it makes the most sense to recover using a hot wallet for smaller amounts and a dedicated cold storage hardware wallet for large amounts. No matter how much Bitcoin is in the wallet that you are trying to recover, using all of the best practices will ensure that your seed phrase stays secure and you don't accidentally lose your Bitcoin when you enter it into a computer or hardware wallet. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about how to secure your seed phrase. If you would like to see more in-depth detail on any of the steps in any of the articles in this series, please let me know and I will do what I can to provide the best info for the Bitcoin plebs.